Stocks close mixed on Wall Street as the market fluctuates near 10-month highs. Profit-taking and anticipation of another rate hike by the Fed leads the Nasdaq about 1% lower. The S&P 2 declines while the Dow is the outlier, closing with some minor gains. Reports suggest China has asked banking majors to cut deposit rates in order to boost the economy, while Japan's first quarter GDP tops expectations as robust spending continues. Stocks in the Asia-Pacific trade largely lower, while the SGX Nifty indicates a flat start for the Indian market. And all eyes are on the RBI as it will announce its policy decision later today. The CNBC TV18 Citizens Monetary Policy Committee votes unanimously for a status quo, but the panel is divided on when rate cuts will begin. Only 2 members of the 5-member committee expect a rate cut this year. Sources tell CNBC TV18 the government expects state-owned refiners to reduce fuel prices. This as OM sees its finances improve and business slowly returns to normal on fuel under recoveries. And time for Hero to shift to gears and focus on performance as it looks to dominate the premium and EV bike market. Newly appointed CEO Niranjan Gupta tells CNBC TV18 says Hero has set sights on launching its highest number of premium bikes in FY24. Hi guys, good morning and welcome to Power Breakfast. I'm Pavitra Parekh. Those are the top headlines that we have for you this Thursday morning. For the markets, we did get a bit of a mixed handover from Wall Street, and on the back of that, you have Asia, which is opening a little bit mixed, but it's largely lower for the Asian markets. There's no big losses coming through, but you're seeing between 0.25% to 0.4% in some of the markets. Hang Seng actually perhaps the worst this morning. It's down 112 points, so that one is seeing a bit of a cut. The Taiwanese index down around 0.5% as well. But for the rest of them, Shanghai is down around 0.25%. You have Straits, which is seeing cuts of just 0.1%. So not too much of a cut, but the mood broadly is a little bit on the downside. The Nikkei markets are just about managing to hold in the green. So that's the one index which is seeing a little bit of green as far as Asia goes. The SGX Nifty will also come up for you, and it is indicating that the start for our own markets could be quite flat. It's just around 5 points in the green, and like you can see, it has been quite volatile as well. But that is the SGX Nifty and the Asian market action. Let's also talk about the US now, because like I was telling you, Wall Street ended yesterday's trading session quite mixed. So while the Dow closed around 90 points in the green, we did see cuts on the S&P 500 as well as the Nasdaq. So the S&P was down around 0.3%, 0.4%, and the tech-heavy Nasdaq also closed around 170 points in the red. But staying with the U.S. market, let's also listen in to what U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen had to say as she spoke to CNBC on the inflation situation and the debt picture in the United States. Listen in.
I see a path to bringing down inflation while maintaining a strong labor market. And I think the data we've seen recently and over the last year suggest we're on a path with those characteristics. So clearly the labor market remains quite strong, with unemployment close to 50-year lows and very healthy job creation. But on the other hand, we are seeing some signs of easing pressures in the labor market, which may be important in terms of bringing inflation down. To protect our economy and our financial markets from catastrophe, what's necessary is to find a consensual, bipartisan approach to raising the debt ceiling. I think it's a win for the American people, because had the debt ceiling not been raised, regardless of what approach was taken, the consequences would have been very adverse, very significant, and very negative. I believe a recession would have been very likely, and we could have had a global financial crisis.
All right, that is the word coming in from Janet Yellen, and that's everything that we're looking at globally. Let's now talk about all of the cues that you should track as we get into our fresh trading session today. We have Rimas and Surabhi here with the trade setup, and we'll also be joined by Nigel in just a bit. But first up, Rima, let me come to you on just the cues that we should track for the market. Of course, looks like a very flat start, but there's only one real big cue that we're looking at today.
Absolutely, and I think maybe the markets won't move, right, ahead of that big RBI policy meeting, and it's going to be known soon. We've just got a couple of hours. In the morning itself, the markets will have their direction from what the RBI governor has to say. Broadly now, everyone's talking about, are we going to get to our all-time high levels? Because we're just about 160 points away from that level. The all-time high level was hit on the 1st of December of last year of 18,887. So we are very, very close to that level. So are we going to get there very soon? What gives the bulls confidence is that the markets were trading in a range, in a very tight range, between 18,400 to 18,600. So we've spent some time consolidating, building a base over here. Now, so there is a chance that the markets, yesterday it broke out and it can build on that. But for that, you will need the macro to be supportive. So the RBI monetary policy will be important. And next week, we've got the US CPI inflation print followed by the Fed minutes. So if all these three come in our favor, then perhaps the markets will be looking at that all-time high level. Yesterday, you had a mixed session on Wall Street. The Nasdaq, the S&P 500 gave up some of their rally. Nasdaq, of course, has been on a fantastic, uptrend. So there was a bit of a pause, profit taking visible there. But the market continues to broaden. We spoke about Russell 2000 yesterday, the small cap index on Wall Street. Well, that did well yet again. Yesterday, day before, it was up 2.7%. It's followed it up with a 1.7%, 1.8% gain. In terms of flows, both the DIIs and FIs were buyers. Big buying seen by the FIs, nearly 1,400 crore in the cash market.
All right, Rima, thanks a lot for taking us through all of those cues. We're going to watch for all of that. But now Surbhi is here with the list of stocks that we should keep on our radar as well ahead of the trading sessions today. Hi, Surbhi.
Hi, Pavitra. So I have quite a few stocks on my radar. The first one is Titagarh Rail. The board is going to consider a fundraise via QIP or a rights issue on June 10th. Aether Industries, the company signs a letter of intent with a US-based oil field services company for strategic supplier and contract manufacturing partnership. Mazgaon Dock, the company signs a non-binding, non-financial MOU with ThyssenKrupp for submarine projects. Gati, they released their May volume update and the total volumes were up 9% on a month-on-month basis and up 1% on a year-on-year basis. Stovecraft, the company's CFO, Balaji AS, has resigned from the company. Sharda Cropchem, the company's CFO, Ashok Kumar Vashisht, has also resigned from the company effective of June 8th. And lastly, Sula Vineyards, the company has identified the new CFO who will come on board in August, and the company has also launched 3 luxury lakeside villas.
All right, Surbhi, thanks a lot for taking us through that entire list of stocks. Finally, Nigel is also here to run us through all of the cues from the futures and options space. Nigel, it was quite a good session yesterday. What are you tracking this morning?
Well, that's right. Yesterday was a good trading session, and on the Nifty itself, we did see a fair bit of open interest build up, telling you that there were some long positions that were getting added out there. What do the FIs do in the F&O market? Well, they added close to around 14,000 long contracts, 3 longs for every 1 short position. And they wrote puts aggressively as well. They wrote close to around 2.2 lakh puts. That was in the ratio of close to around 2 puts for 1 call. On the buying side, well, they bought both calls as well as puts, but that's not giving you direction. What's giving you a fair bit of a bullish sign is the way they're writing puts. Now, in yesterday's session, you had 3 strikes that were very active. So some of them are hoping that we hear the most dovish RBI governor. And in fact, you'll make some money if you bought the out-of-the-money call option. It's only around 4 rupees odd, but if you can get up and going, then you'll make some money out there. But it appears it's a bit of an out-of-the-money punt that you're seeing. On the downside, though, 18,700 put, very, very active. Imagine in a single session, more than 1 crore shares getting added at one strike. Even at lower levels, 18,650, close to 90 lakh shares were added. So between them, there were close to 2 crore shares that were added. Now, the PCR, well, it's moved to the upper end of the band. Remember, the last few days, it was hovering around 1. It's moving to around 1.38 odd. Anecdotal evidence has suggested in the past that once we go to around the 1.4, sometimes you see a bit of a pullback. But this market is headed to all-time highs. So let's see how it works this time around. Support levels will be important because on the upside, we can go to any levels. But for the day itself, since we have weekly expiry that will play out, 18,650 becomes important on the Nifty. And on the Nifty Bank, you have this 43,951. I point out that level because it's a 20 DMA. For starters, we start up more or less flattish or in the green, but the RBI governor will give direction to the markets. Back to you.
All right, we're all waiting by for that cue. Nigel, thanks a lot for running us through those cues from the F&O market. We're going to get into a short break now, but like we've been telling you, all eyes are really on the Reserve Bank of India decision due today. So we're going to get you highlights from the CNBC TV18 poll on the other side.
दुनिया में कुछ लोग कहते हैं और कुछ लोग करते हैं। जब कहा गया देश में सोलर पावर सफल नहीं हो सकता, तो हमने सुना नहीं, उसे सफल कर दिखाया। कहा देश का सबसे बड़ा पावर प्लांट बनाना इम्पॉसिबल, तो हमने पॉसिबल कर दिया। बोला कोने कोने तक बिजली पहुंचाना किसी के बस की बात नहीं, हमने पहुंचा दी। सवाल उठे एनवायरमेंट फ्रेंडली गैस सब तक कैसे पहुंचेगी? हमने वो भी पहुंचा दी। कहा तो ये भी गया पैकेज फूड बिजनेस हमसे नहीं हो पाएगा, लेकिन हमने कर दिखाया। बातें उठी सीमेंट सेक्टर में हम कभी स्ट्रांग नहीं बन सकते, तो हमने सुना नहीं, बन के दिखाया। चर्चा हुई देश में इतना बड़ा पोर्ट बनाना असंभव, हमने संभव कर दिखाया। और जब कहा गया देश के एयरपोर्ट्स इंटरनेशनल स्टैंडर्ड्स के नहीं हो सकते, तब भी हमने सुना नहीं, कर दिए। मुश्किलों की नहीं सुनते, हम करके दिखाते हैं। अदानी, हम करके दिखाते हैं।
Keeping up with the pace of life is not easy. To find the perfect balance, we need to savor the pause. See? It never ends.
बात डेवलपमेंट की हो या टेक्नोलॉजी की, आज का नया भारत हर क्षेत्र में हो रहा है एडवांस। न्यू जनरेशन न्यू आइडिया के साथ एक न्यू इंडिया का निर्माण कर रही है, और ये सब कुछ संभव हो पा रहा है देश के उन समस्त जिम्मेदार नागरिकों के द्वारा। समय पर अदा किए गए एडवांस टैक्स से आप भी समय पर एडवांस टैक्स अदा करके देश की तरक्की में भागीदार बनिए। एडवांस टैक्स जमा करने की आखिरी तारीख 15 जून 2023 है। किसी भी तरह की कंपनी, कॉर्पोरेट या वे व्यक्ति और संस्थाएं जिनकी कर देयता TDS, TCS कटने के बाद 10,000 या उससे अधिक है, वो 15 जून 2023 तक अपने एडवांस टैक्स की किश्त अदा करें। प्रत्येक आयकर दाता एक राष्ट्र निर्माता।
Hey guys, welcome back. You're still tuned into Power Breakfast, and like we've been telling you, the big Q today is the RBI's rate decision, which is just in a few hours from now. And according to the CNBC TV18 poll, the Monetary Policy Committee is likely to maintain status quo as inflation moderates to its comfort zone. Ritu Singh is here with all of the highlights and results of this poll. Ritu.
Well, it looks like the Monetary Policy Committee may continue to maintain status quo with inflation moderating well into RBI's comfort zone. The MPC has hiked rates 6 times in this cycle before it paused in April, which is when the governor reiterated it was just a pause, not a pivot several times. That said, all the respondents to CNBC TV18's poll expect no change in the repo rate, which is now at 6.5%. And the governor's comment on pause, not pivot notwithstanding, all of our respondents believe that we have reached the end of the rate hike cycle. That means rates will not go up any further. In fact, respondents believe that RBI may stay on hold this entire calendar year, with 70% expecting the first rate cut only by the first half of the next fiscal year, with a third expecting a cut in the fourth quarter of this year. The majority of our respondents believe that RBI will continue with its stance of withdrawal of accommodation, since we've seen an increase in liquidity since the announcement of the 2,000 rupee note exchange. Some are, however, expecting a tweak in the wording, but no shift in stance just yet. Now, the MPC is meeting in the backdrop of CPI inflation declining to an 18-month low in April. A majority expect that RBI is now going to revise its inflation projection a shade lower from 5.2% currently. But as far as the GDP is concerned, that forecast at 6.5% is likely to be left unchanged. Now, apart from all of these, the markets are going to focus on RBI's commentary on liquidity, with durable liquidity having increased sharply. Any comments from the RBI governor on indications of an extended pause are also going to be watched very closely. And lastly, the MPC vote on the stance of the policy is expected to be a split one again. So these will be some of the things to watch out for.
All right, just a little bit over 2 hours before we do have that decision. Ritu, thanks a lot for getting us the highlights of that poll. But moving on to another important story, in a political nudge to oil marketing companies, the government expects refiners to reduce transport fuel prices. Now, sources say that this is on the back of the health of OMCs, recovering a little bit and coming back to normal. So Sapna is here with more on this. Sapna, what are you picking up?
Well, precisely what you have indicated. You must have seen, how the fourth quarter results of OMCs were. So third quarter, they turned the corner. At least some of them did. And fourth quarter put in a stellar performance. At least IOC and BPCL, they closed the financial year with profits. HPCL, of course, continues to be an exception to that. So keeping this in mind, I think what government wants OMCs to do is at some point in time, within legitimate bounds, they should be able to pass on some of the benefit, at least in terms of, returning to normalcy. Prices have not been touched since over a year now. So OMC's got enough time to quote unquote, recover to an extent. And also looking at the way the crude oil, has been. I mean, as of now, the Indian basket has been under $10 to $5 odd. Windfall tax, of course, also has been zero. I mean, these are all the consequences of pricing softening all over. So, in short, what government wants is some benefit should be passed on to the consumer. How the OMCs do it, by how much they do it, when they do it, that is something the government will not interfere into. So that's one. Second, also interestingly, we all know that the daily price revision has, kind of stopped since April last year. Maybe it's not through the daily price revision that the government would like this to happen. Probably what they want is, a kind of a bullet cut by the OMCs, because the risk in the daily price revision is that today if you cut, then after after some time you can also increase. So that impact gets nullified if there is the cut. So I think probably they want that to be a bit more permanent, and hence go in for one cut and then, see how it really pans out. This is a very clear message coming in.
Right, Sapna, thanks a lot for getting us the details on this very important story. The government quite clear there that they do want OMCs to cut prices. It'll be important to watch how all of these fare in trade today. By the way, yesterday there was a sharp rally in names like BPCL, HPCL, up between 4 and 5%. So it'll be interesting to see how it moves today. But with that, let's also bring you some important corporate commentary coming in. Auto major Hero MotoCorp recently underwent a leadership change. New CEO Niranjan Gupta spoke with our colleague Parikshit about the recently introduced voluntary retirement scheme as well as the capex plans for this year. So let's listen in to that conversation.
From time to time, every company has to go through refreshing, talent churn, in order to ensure that the talent is future ready and future fit. We had not done that in Hero for a long time, and therefore we felt the need to actually refresh our talent so that it provides, as I said, the talent needs to be fit for the next 5, 7, 10 years time. And it was that exercise which was done, which was the management VRS. Overall, around 10% of the staff took the VRS, and that paves the way for the future in terms of building the organization, much simpler organization, de-layered, simplified, which will ensure that the speed at which we move will be much faster than what we have been doing. Given the framework of EV that's changing rapidly, whether it's in terms of customer, whether it's in terms of regulatory, or the battery side, the cost side, or the fame that everyone is aware of, I can only say that don't go by the current leadership in the market. It's going to change dramatically over the next 3 years. And typically we have given the guidance of between 1,000 to 1,500 crores a year. That's the range of capex guidance. So therefore more and more investment out of this pie will be towards an EV and premium.
All right, that was just a tiny snippet for you. In fact, remember, you can catch excerpts from our conversation with Hero Motors' new CEO, Niranjan Gupta, all day today right here on CNBC TV18. With that, we do need to get into a short break, but on the other side, we're going to talk all about what's going on with the commodities, so stay tuned for that.
What does your investment portfolio look like without gold? Incomplete. Because as a gold owner, you have the power to make bold decisions. To balance risks and returns. The power to buy and sell. Right at your fingertips. Making gold your strategic advantage.
Without which, your portfolio is incomplete.
Power your portfolio with gold. World Gold Council.
नई कार खरीदने से पहले एको चेक करें और 36,000 तक बचाएं।
Keeping up with the pace of life is not easy. To find the perfect balance, we need to savor the pause. See? It never ends.
अभी और कितने चक्कर लगाने पड़ेंगे सर जी?
आप इतनी सी बात क्यों नहीं समझते सर जी? आप हमारा ध्यान रखो, हम आपका ध्यान रखेंगे।
ओ।
9501 200 200 ये
एंटी करप्शन एक्शन लाइन।
मैडम जी आप बेकार में परेशान हो रहे हो। मैं कराता हूँ ना 2 दिन में आपका काम। आप तो बस चढ़ा देना, घर बैठे आ जाएगा आपका लाइसेंस। आपको ड्राइविंग टेस्ट की भी जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी।
पक्का?
पक्का जी पक्का।
तो आपने एक नंबर लिखिए, जब बन जाएगा तो उस पे कॉल करिएगा। 9501 200 200 एंटी करप्शन एक्शन लाइन।
अगर आपसे भी कोई रिश्वत मांगे तो कॉल करें 9501 200 200। एंटी करप्शन एक्शन लाइन से पिछले 1 साल में अब तक 300 से ज्यादा भ्रष्टाचारी गिरफ्तार हो चुके हैं। पंजाब में रिश्वत लेने वालों की अब खैर नहीं।
पंजाब के लोगों को ये संदेश देना चाहता हूँ, पंजाब को भ्रष्टाचार मुक्त बनाना हमारा वादा ही नहीं, गारंटी है।
Welcome back. You're still tuned into Power Breakfast. By the way, a lot of the Asian markets have slipped even more now. So we have all of the indices in the red right now. But let's also get a check on what's going on with the commodities. Manisha, what are the big headlines that you're looking at today?
Well, some profit-taking continuing here as well, as we have seen the strength come back in case of dollar index and the Treasury yields. Also, the markets are reacting to the surprise rate hikes that we have seen from Australia and then Canada as well. So you have gold and silver prices trading at near 2-month lows. We also are looking at copper prices weighed down by the weak China trade data. The latest numbers show that the China copper reports for the month of May fell by 4.6%, and the China trade surplus shrank by 13-month lows, and that's weighing on across commodities right now. So whether it's copper, aluminum, zinc, we have seen some pressure coming in. The only thing that's trading firm is iron ore, and that is because after this weak China data, the street expects the China stimulus to come in by this week or the next max, and that clearly is what is keeping a support in case of metals.
Okay, Manisha, thanks a lot for getting us all of that action from the commodities. With that, we're going to wind down on this edition of Power Breakfast. Like I said, all of the Asian markets are in the red this morning, with Hang Seng and Taiwan leading the losses. The SGX Nifty is, however, indicating around a 14-point uptick for now. So thanks a lot for tuning into Power Breakfast. We have Bazaar Morning Call up into.